right, welcome everybody to our Meet an Expert for today. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Amy Artzer and I am the Community Partnerships Manager for Girl Scouts of Colorado. I am so thankful for you that you're joining us this afternoon. I'm so thankful to all of our panelists for joining us. We have an awesome Meet an Expert session with women who are in the U.S. Space Force today. So before I kind of turn things over to them, I just want to run through a few housekeeping items. So we are recording today's session. Our recording is only of our panelists and myself, so we won't be recording any girls' names or faces. Our recording will go up on our Meet an Expert YouTube playlist. So if you ever have technical difficulties or you know a Girl Scout sister who you think would be interested, please feel free to share the recording with them, the link to the recording with them. Additionally, we will be keeping all of you Girl Scouts on mute for the duration of today's presentation. We do have the chat box available if you need it. So the chat box, anything you put in there will just come directly to me. So if you have any questions or technical issues, please feel free to put them in there. We are going to take questions today, and when we're ready for that, you can put your questions into the chat box and I'll read them out loud. You are welcome to turn your video on. You're not required to. As I mentioned, our recording is just of our panelists, but if you want to turn your video on, you're more than welcome to. And you can, on your end, you can scroll through all the videos and take a look at everyone participating. But if you don't want to turn your video on today, that is totally fine as well. I think those are all my housekeeping items. And so let's go ahead and kick things off with the Girl Scout Promise and Law. So please follow along with me at home. On my honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law. And now, of course, the Girl Scout law. I will do my best to be honest and fair, friendly and helpful, considerate and caring, courageous and strong, and responsible for what I say and do, and to respect myself and others, respect authority, use resources wisely, make the world a better place, and be a sister to every Girl Scout. Well done, everybody. Thank you for joining along with me. Now I'm going to turn things over to our women of the U.S. Space Force. Each woman is going to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about what she does, a little bit about herself, and then we're going to dive into questions. So like I said, the chat box is available. When we're going to questions, we are going to start with the questions that all of you submitted when you registered for today's program, and then we'll go to some live questions through the chat box. So please, our experts, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Major Lucia White. I was a Girl Scout. I'm now an officer in the Space Force. And to do that, I went to the Air Force Academy, and here I am now. When I was your age, I was really into math and science, so hopefully you all are too. And if not, by the end of this briefing that you are. I currently run the GPS constellation, so those are all the satellites that help make your Google Maps work. So I'm excited to be here, and thank you all for having me.
Hi, everybody. My name is Captain Cornelia Jones. I'm originally from North Carolina. Like Major White said, we are in the Space Force, officer in the Space Force, and I too went to the Air Force Academy. I was a brownie when I was a Girl Scout, and so it's really exciting to be with you all today.
Hi, I'm Captain Erin Brown. I went to the University of Kentucky and graduated through the ROTC program there to join the U.S. Air Force and then the U.S. Space Force from there. I'm currently stationed up at Buckley Air Force Base. I work with OPIR, which is infrared from space, and work with some missile warning is what we're most known for. So that's in Denver, Colorado, not too far from these ladies over here. But I'm excited to talk to you guys today and answer your questions.
Hi, ladies. My name is Farah Hassan. I go by Canyon, which is called a call sign, but basically it's like a nickname. And I am originally from Egypt, actually, but Florida's home, and I'm in Colorado Springs right now. I'm a weapons officer, which is what this patch is. But that means I'm in charge of teaching people really cool things, basically what they need to know for their job. And it's super awesome. I hope you guys get excited about STEM by the end of this as well, if you're not already.
Hello guys, my name is Staff Sergeant Catherine Brockmiller. I'm an Information Systems Security Officer, which basically means that I protect the computers that everybody uses. So I'm stationed currently at Schriever, which is over at Colorado Springs. I'm Florida native, and I recently got accepted to transfer into the US Space Force, so I'll be joining in February. And I'm looking forward to answering any questions you guys have.
Hi, so my name is Nastasia Arrington. I am currently the Deputy Flight Commander of the Mission Assurance Flight. So we're like your cyber experts on all the ground weapon systems for Force Ops. I'm out at Schriever. I will not be transitioning over to the Space Force, but I do love supporting my my sisters and
think we lost her. So in the meantime, I'll introduce myself. I'm Staff Sergeant Kelly Malone. Currently, I just transferred into the Space Force along with the ladies before me. And I also just went to a new mission in the 3rd Space Operations Squadron as a mission planner. Haven't started training yet. Before that, I was also a GPS satellite operator. I'm from Georgia and definitely love what I do, and I'm happy to be here today.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining us. Okay, so I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen so that we can see everyone's videos a little larger. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and dive into some questions. So we're going to start, like I said, we're going to start with questions that all of you submitted in advance. So I think one of the questions that came up quite often was about your education. And if you could tell us a little bit about your education after high school, or even if there were some things some topics or subjects in high school that you found really interesting that kind of led you down your current career path.
Sure. So like I said, I graduated from the University of Kentucky. I studied biology there, which puts me into the STEM category. So I was able to go into the space career field from there. And the wonderful thing about the military in general is that there's always education opportunities. So you can learn through various classes that are just, some are a week long, some are months long. And you can enroll from there. Also, I'm currently enrolled in my master's program with Johns Hopkins for geospatial intelligence. So it's more STEM, just a different type of STEM. So no more biology, but instead we're focusing on a variety of topics for GIS, which is the geospatial information systems, and remote sensing, and a combination of those sort of things.
I went to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University down in Daytona Beach, Florida, where I got my bachelor's degree in aerospace engineering, focusing on propulsion. So that's engines, mostly aircraft engines. We learned to design those, but a little bit of rocket engines too, which is pretty cool. And then I also got my master's in mechanical engineering before I joined the Air Force. So definitely STEM through and through. It is not 100% requirement to join, because there's lots of different jobs that you can do depending on what interests you. But there's, of course, lots of STEM opportunities.
And I would like to say, for me, I had no college education when I enlisted into the Air Force. And so I went straight from, high school right into the military. And I got picked to do cybersecurity, and it was something I had no idea anything computer related. So thankfully, because of the military and, you know, the blessings of being able to do education through the military, I was able to get my bachelor's in information systems management, which is extremely technology related. So for everyone out there who thinks it's a requirement to have education, you can actually go in straight from high school and pursue education through, you know, the military and in the Space Force. So I recommend taking advantage of that too. And you'll get all the education you need to get involved with STEM.
So yeah, you don't necessarily have to go to college to get further education in the Space Force. But me and Captain Jones, right out of high school, went to the Air Force Academy. We both have our bachelor's degrees in science, in biology more specifically. And then now I'm going to get sent back, thanks to the military, to go get my master's degree in biology and become a teacher at the Air Force Academy. So who knows, maybe I can be your teacher one day if you go to school there.
I went to East Carolina University through ROTC. I had a degree in biological anthropology. So kind of a STEM, it's kind of a mix because I'm not so great at math as I am with science. And then I did go to Liberty University to get my master's degree in psychology, just because I realized this is a great opportunity to get different degrees and different things that interest me. So I did have a little bit of STEM and a little bit of not.
And I kind of did a completely opposite route of all the ladies. I did go to school, but I actually majored in criminal justice. So my whole background is law enforcement, and all of that. And similar to Catherine, I also joined, I joined a little later though, but I'm definitely taking advantage of the military's education opportunities, and I'm gonna go get another bachelor's degree. Not sure in what yet though, but as it was mentioned earlier, it does not have to be a STEM degree, but it does help with certain jobs. But yeah, that's about me.
Quick note for getting school paid for through the military. Like some of us mentioned, there's lots of awesome opportunities, whether you join the Air Force first right out of high school and then get your education paid for later, or you get your education paid for right after high school and then you join the Air Force later. There's lots of opportunities to do it. So hopefully you guys are working hard and you can get some merit-based scholarships or needs-based scholarships if applicable, but there's also lots of opportunities through the Air Force or Space Force as well.
Great, thank you all. So this is a kind of a related question to learning about your education, and that is, how much math is needed for this career, and do you have to be confident in math? And maybe if you're not confident in math but you still are interested in the STEM career, what is your advice?
Well, thankfully not a lot of math is required to be in the Space Force. So no, you don't, but you do need to learn some math. So we do know about orbits, how satellites orbit in space, and that requires some math. Other piece in terms of education that I decided to do on the side to help me was to learn about coding. So that's something that you all can do for free right now, because a lot of the systems that we use on the computer are coding. So that's something that can help you out.
Great. And for all the Girl Scouts out there, there are 3 coding badges for each Girl Scout level that are progressive. So if you're interested in coding, definitely go out and earn your Girl Scout coding badges. Okay. One question that I thought was super interesting was, how does it feel to be among some of the first people in the Space Force?
I'll take that question again. So I worked with the first senior enlisted female that joined the Space Force, Chief Master Sergeant Carmen Pogue. And I definitely think that was so inspiring to know that she was in the Air Force for almost 20 years and then decided to do more service and join the Space Force to inspire more girls like yourself. So it's very inspiring, very empowering to know that I work with people like these young ladies on the call right now.
Yeah, so it's a wonderful time to be part of something so new. And we've had a lot of firsts this last year. So over the summer, we had the first all-female GPS satellite operations crew. So it was amazing. So there's only going to be even more first, even when hopefully you all join the Space Force. So definitely something that I would take advantage of.
I'll kind of piggyback with them. It is empowering, but on day-to-day life, you don't really think about it until someone asks you how it feels to be a woman in the Space Force or a woman in the military or one of the first in the Space Force. And then you kind of just sit back and you're like, wow, that's actually a huge thing that all of us have accomplished and got to be a part of. And it's really awesome.
And I'm looking forward to, how we can shape the future of Space Force as well, because since we're, basically spearheading this new service, and as women in the military, there's a lot that we can contribute, and I'm really proud to be a part of that.
Wonderful. So in your job, can you tell us about what some of your short-term and long-term goals are and how you're working to achieve those?
I can go ahead and start that. So with the information technology career field, a lot of us have to get certifications in our career that further enhance our ability to do our job. So my short-term goal right now is to get certified in a lot of these computing certifications. So for example, Security Plus, which helps with making sure that you know more in depth about security and information systems. And then my long-term goal is to get to the point where I can get even more certifications basically. So just higher level certifications that take a lot more time to study for.
So my goal is similar since I'm also in the information and technology career field. I luckily came with Sec Plus. It's a requirement for my tech school, but just getting a lot of my airmen like Sergeant Brock Miller, the opportunity to go ahead and get those certifications because it sets them up for the long run. And it honestly really helps the career field progress, especially in space. We really need it, especially understanding a system that we didn't go to school for and having to constantly learn these different space systems, just giving everyone the opportunity to continue to learn.
Great. So another question that came in a few times was, what does your day-to-day look like in your job?
I'm an instructor, so my day-to-day looks like, we'll start out probably checking email, making sure that I'm answering any messages from anybody. But then it's lesson planning. It's coming up with what I need to teach people. So for example, one of the last lessons I taught were about how people around the world can use telescopes or lasers or radars in order to track our satellites in space. So first I had to go make sure I remembered all of that from my training. So I did my own quick study and made sure I was all covered. And then I came up with my lesson plan and figured out how I was going to teach that to my people who need to know that information for their job and how they can use that information. And yeah, wrapped up the day by wrapping up some lessons.
And then I go and make sure that what Captain Hassan taught was correct. So I test her people and see if they did it right, and then they go off and operate satellites after that.
And then my job is to manage those folks that operate the satellites. And every day there's always a new problem or something broken or something not broken. And someone has a great idea that we try to implement. So it's always something new. So really develop those problem solving skills, because that's what I rely on the most in my job.
Yeah, and for me, I'm the person that fixes the issues. So anytime a computer is broken or they're not able to do what they can, I go into the computer servers and try to troubleshoot and make sure if there's anything I can do at my level to fix it. So that's my day to day.
When I was a GPS satellite operator, I was the one that actually sent the commands to the satellite to check its health, tell it to do certain things, give us certain data. And day-to-day of that was just constant. Basically, your check engine light comes on if there's a problem, and the satellite system operator has to go and try to figure out what it is, like Major White said, and try to problem solve and come up with new ideas possibly that could fix that satellite.
And then for me, I don't work with these ladies directly, but I work on a different constellation set altogether. So since we're working a different mission set, our job day to day is to strategize and determine what the best collection strategy is for our constellations and for our sensors. And so we take that and we work with a bunch of customers and to make the best plan to send to the operators so they can execute the commands for the day.
My day-to-day is mostly meetings and phone calls. So I mostly integrate all the new weapon systems for our operators. So I have to make sure that everything from their TOs, their little checklist that they use, to how it will be set up and look on their console will be most operationally smooth for them.
But everything we do is definitely 24/7. So we're in charge of satellites, and those go really fast around the earth. So it's always something that we have to have our cell phones with us and fixing those problems nonstop. It's a huge responsibility.
So what is your favorite part of your job? Given that it is a huge responsibility, what's the best part about it?
I absolutely love teaching people, and I get to change what I teach because there's so many different specialties and so many different people who need different kinds of information. So I'm constantly learning new things, and then I get to turn around and teach them to new people. And the best part is seeing them all go apply that knowledge and accomplish really cool things, go on these awesome missions and do these really cool firsts, like we mentioned, which is pretty satisfying.
My favorite part of my job is being able to learn things I never thought I could do. And every single day, I'm just learning something new and putting that in my bank of things I can do. And my most favorite part, though, is the people that I work with and the camaraderie that we have, all being service members. So just hanging out and tackling problems with my coworkers, that's probably my favorite part of my job.
I think my favorite part is knowing that my squadron, including the young operators that we have, that some are as young as 18 years old, they have a direct impact on the global community. So every day we provide GPS to 6 billion users worldwide. That's pretty cool when you're that young that you're sending a command to a satellite that has that sort of impact.
I would say my favorite part is seeing all the big projects, because a lot of them take 2 to 3 years. When they finally are finished and I get to see how people interact and use them, and that they were actually super meaningful. So all those long and hard days and meetings that went over the same thing over and over were actually worth it when you get to see that end product.
Great, thank you. So this is another question that came in a couple of times. I think we're all, the Space Force is so new, we're all still learning about what it does. So could you tell us about what services the Space Force provides and why it's important?
Know that the Space Force is really big. There are a lot of different systems. So all of these ladies across the board, we do something different. So you have an instructor, you have engineers, you have cyber technicians, you have, we also have civilians that work with us. So Miss Amy can come work with us every day if she wanted to. So there are a lot of services we provide. So we provide GPS. So on your Google Maps, we provide weather services. We provide missile warning. So if something from another country, they threaten us, we monitor them to make sure that they don't hurt us. We provide a lot of different services that I can't even list. There's some secret squirrel ones too. So space is really broad.
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, we're a military branch, right? So we're in the military. So our job is to defend our nation's interests on Earth and in space. So that is everything from providing GPS, like these ladies mentioned, so that not only, you can find your way to the store or to the movie theater or whatever day to day, but also so that our aircraft, when they're flying on a mission, can get to their destination, or our soldiers on the ground all over the world can know where they are. To what Captain Brown mentioned, she said she works au pair up at Buckley. So that is monitoring for missiles all over the world. If bad guys wanted to fire missiles at us, now they're the first line of defense to warn everybody. You guys have seen the movies, I'm sure. Someone else mentioned remote sensing. So remote sensing is when we use satellites in space to look at the Earth and be able to tell things about Earth. So whether that's taking images, or we have like weather satellites that are able to get all those images you see when you watch the news at night, and you see, the clouds coming over the United States, and the weatherman or weatherwoman does her thing. To what else? Satellite communications as well. So when all our sailors, soldiers, airmen are all over the world, and they need to be able to communicate with with others, then they are able to use their radios and talk back to the United States or wherever else in the world they need to talk to, and they do that through our satellites. We also operate all the radars around the world, and the telescopes around the world that do kind of what I was talking about earlier, where they monitor all the satellites in space. Not only do we monitor our own satellites, but all of them, right? So if any of you guys use like Dish Network or DirecTV or Sirius XM, so we even monitor everybody else's satellites to make sure they don't crash into each other, because that would be a really bad day for everybody. We support the International Space Station and NASA's science missions. Yeah, it's quite broad, all the missions that are out there if you're interested in being a part of space. What we don't do is really deep space exploration. So I think I saw the words exploration in a lot of the questions. So that's more of a NASA thing. So if you're more interested in like deep space exploration, going to Mars or beyond kind of thing, that's a little bit more NASA's wheelhouse than us. We mostly focus on Earth and what's around it, so all the satellites that are nearby. That being said, there are opportunities for people in the Space Force or Air Force or any of the other military branches to apply to become an astronaut. And if you do that, then you go work with NASA for however long you're an astronaut. And then you can be part of the deep space exploration missions if you're more interested in going further away than 36,000 kilometers, which is about where we're at or closer.
Great. That was extremely helpful. Thank you. That even helped explain some things for my understanding. So we have some great questions from the chat box, and I would love to be able to ask all the questions that were submitted in advance, but I want to make sure we also have some time to answer questions that are in the chat box. So Francesca asked, why did you join the Space Force or the Air Force if you were part of the Air Force prior? And why should somebody else join? So maybe if some of the Girl Scouts out there are thinking about even just joining the military, one of the branches of the military, why might they join? And we talked a lot about education. So I think maybe I think education is a big reason, but maybe if there are some other answers or words of advice.
So I joined mainly because I wanted to be a part of something really big. And so my cousin at the time was in ROTC and she encouraged me, and I got to see a lot of female leaders in the military for the first time. My detachment was a little bit different, where it was 75% women opposed to men like most other detachments. So I was super impressed with having a bunch of strong girls around who were super educated and could go out there and do anything the guys could do. And so I was like, I definitely want to be a part of that myself. And that's how I ended up joining.
I ended up joining because I didn't really know what I wanted to do as far as studying in college. So my dad, who served for 33 years in the Air Force, I figured if he could do it, I can too. So luckily, you know, going and enlisting in the military, I found my purpose and realized that there's something much greater to it. And I'm really fortunate and glad that I made the decision.
I think one of the biggest reasons to join, if you're looking into the space field in general, is just the broad opportunity. Kind of, if you take the information given in the last answers, there's so many different fields. You don't necessarily have to be a math star or a science star or a physics star. You can be one of those, or you could even be better at the art side of the house. Absolutely, I highly encourage you guys to pursue the STEM route. I'm a huge advocate for the STEM, but currently I'm serving in an intelligence squadron, actually. So while I'm a space officer by trade and I have all the STEM background, I'm using it in a little bit different of a field where I get to apply it across basically the entire military, and you get to work with people around the entire world. You get to meet people from around the entire world, and you get to do that on a daily basis. I don't know, maybe someone else does, of a field where you can do that other than this one, but from what I know, this is the only place where you get to do such things like that, and the opportunities are endless if you are willing to work hard for them.
I joined the Air Force initially. Sorry, I'm washing dishes over here. But I joined the Air Force initially because I came from really kind of an underprivileged area, and I needed a way to pay for college, and my mom couldn't afford it, so I applied to the Air Force Academy and thankfully got in. And then before I did anything with satellites, operated nuclear weapons. So I sat in the silos and watched screens to make sure the president didn't want us to launch nuclear weapons. So then I had an opportunity to cross over into space and learn about satellites. And so I'm glad I did. I think it's definitely a larger impact on the world. I love operating nuclear weapons, but it definitely has a larger impact on the world. Somebody, if I say GPS, people know what GPS is. So that's my answer.
I originally joined because I wanted to be a fighter pilot when I was younger. So that's why I went to the Air Force Academy. However, it didn't work out. There's funding cuts, they didn't have slots, medical reasons. Sometimes it just doesn't work out what you hope and dream for. And something else came along and it was actually better. So in the end, it worked out for me. So I think that was a really important lesson. Go full throttle in something that you really like. And if it doesn't work out, feel the heartbreak only for a little bit, but keep driving towards something that you like and you'll eventually find your path.
So I joined a little later in life. So I had life experience and then came in, but I grew up in a military and law enforcement family. So it was something I always knew that I wanted to do. And I love adventures. So the first thing I thought of with the Air Force is like, I have no idea what a satellite system operator is, but satellites sound cool. I love adventures. Why not? And then same kind of thing when the Space Force stood up and I was able to join. I thought, hey, why not? There's another cool opportunity, another adventure, something else to say I did. So that was pretty much why I decided to.
Great. Thank you all. There's some awesome questions coming in. So this came up again a few times. So you mentioned that you can be an astronaut if you want to, or you can kind of indicate your interest in that. So the question is, are any of you interested in being an astronaut or going to space, or have any of you been to space before, or do you know anyone who's been to space? So all sorts of space travel questions.
Oh man, I'd love to. And if I get the opportunity to apply in my current career path, I 100% would. Our vice wing commander at Schriever is an astronaut, was, I guess, transitioning now. But anyway, an astronaut. And he got to go up into space and got to go up to the ISS and got to go travel to Russia and learn Russian and do all that. And he's just got super cool stories. He's just one example. There's quite a few others out there. It's definitely not like the everybody thing. It's something you can apply for and get selected for.
So in order to apply, you have to have a master's degree in STEM. So that is something that I'm pursuing to become a teacher. So I'm definitely considering it. But one of the main things that I'm going to do research on is in-orbit experimentation with plants. So trying to grow plants on the International Space Station and microgravity. They kind of grow wimpy. So we're trying to find ways in order to do that more successfully. So when we do go to Mars or wherever, we can actually grow things without them dying and them thriving so that we're able to feed people, because that's quite the far distance.
That is so interesting. I think we could spend a whole nother hour talking about how to grow plants successfully in space. I wish I could talk to you all day. Okay, so we are coming, I mean, that flew by. We're coming up against the end of our time together today. So I want to give you all the opportunity, if there are just some words of advice, whether it be, to pursue a STEM career or pursue what your dreams are. So on the call today is over 70 Girl Scouts in grades 6 through 12. So who are thinking about what they're going to do after high school. So I want to give you all an opportunity, if there are any words of advice, words of wisdom that you'd like to leave them with as we come up against our time today.
I definitely want to go back to what Major White said. You may get your heart broken, but go full throttle. Cyber was not my first choice. I actually really wanted to be space. And I was so heartbroken when I found out that I couldn't. And then in tech school, I found out I had the opportunity to work with space, and I was even more excited to get to come back and support. So it may not work out the way that you think it will, but I still managed to find my way home to space. Just make sure if you're going to do something, go full throttle in it, work really hard and keep going, even if it's not exactly how you thought it would be?
I would say to be open-minded and remain optimistic, because for me, I had no idea I loved computers as much as I do now. And if it wasn't for me being open-minded and optimistic about it, I would have never had an amazing job like this. So like they said, if you don't get your first choice, don't let it discourage you, because you never know, something is out there that you never thought you'd be doing. So just keep pushing and pursue your goals.
Absolutely. That's all such great advice. I think also just when you do find something that you like, make sure you focus and work hard on it and find a mentor in that field or an adjacent field to expand your horizons too, to things that you might not know are out there. So definitely lean on those around you and look for people who will support you in your endeavors.
And then don't pass up any opportunities, even if something you don't think you would like. I got invited to a summer program at the Air Force Academy, and had I not taken that, who knows where I'd be now. Definitely a different route. So even if it's something you might not like right now, keep an open mind, like we're saying, and just try it out. You'll be surprised at what you'll find, or maybe networking, from that too.
So kind of tagging along with the open-mindedness that these ladies are talking about. Again, not a STEM person. I heard the word in high school and college and it terrified me because I'm not good at math, love the law side. So if I wasn't open-minded when I joined the Air Force, I probably would not have done satellite system operation, which led me to the Space Force. And also, if you're not really strong with STEM or you need more practice like I do, there are so many people that are willing to help you. There's classes you can take for free. There's like all of these ladies, I'm sure could definitely help me if I needed to reach out. So don't be discouraged if it's not your strongest point, but you're still interested in space as a whole.
I'd say stick together and help each other out. Be sisters to not only other Girl Scouts, but other girls in general. Even research shows that when women work together or have other women to look up to, they all succeed. So find your little tribe as you go through and work together. Find people who push you and who you can be competitive with, and have some lighthearted competition. Try and push each other in class, with your grades, with your studies, with your goals for your future, so that you all can do better.
And I would say in the end, always have fun. Enjoy your friends, do experiments together, laugh together. I've had laughter with some of these ladies here. And so just enjoy yourself and have fun.
Those are all fabulous words of advice. Thank you. So it's time for us to say goodbye. But before we do say goodbye, I will close things out with our final question that we ask all of our experts, and that is that we must know, what is your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
Frozen Thin Mints.
Tagalongs.
Frozen Thin Mints and frozen tagalongs.
Thin Mints all the way.
Samoas.
Yeah, caramel delights for me.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. I just can't say enough thank yous to each of you for participating in our panel today. Thank you to all the Girl Scouts who are listening out there, whether you're listening live or listening to a recording. I hope you learned as much as I did today. And keep an eye out for our next Meet an Expert session. I think next week we have a 911 call center manager is coming on to tell us about her job. So tune in, and thank you all again so much. Have a great rest of your day.